So the impossible happens on back-to-back nights. In game one, or back-to-back games, I should say, Celtics had a 98% chance to win game one. They had a 99% chance to win game two. According to our analytics, there was a percentage chance of 0.015 that the Knicks would win both of these games. And no one is enjoying it more than Stephen A. Smith.
Go New York, go New York. Go New York, go New York. Go New York, go New York.
Let me check on Stephen A. this morning.
Okay, so it's typically understated Stephen A. Smith in his reaction there. And so we've been on this game so much of the... Big Perk, you all right?
No, man, look, Stephen A. know he need to stop. What? He was the same one. He just said the Celtics was going to win in 5. He was nervous. He was nervous, more nervous than a criminal in church. And now all of a sudden he's sitting up here talking about no, go New York, go New York, go.
I seen you checking Perk. I seen that segment. You're right.
Look,
You're right.
The bottom line of it is this. So we've come all this time into the show today, and we've talked a great deal about the Celtics and how they have fallen apart in these two games. And the reality is, that is the storyline here, because you cannot come from 20 points behind without help. You can't do that all by yourself. You need the team in front of you to let you back in the game, and the Celtics have done that both times. But we've also come 32 minutes into the show without saying what needs to be said, and we'll say it now. The Knicks are a much better team than people were giving them credit for being before this series began. The tone of the conversation leading into this series was like the Celtics were a 1 seed and the Knicks were a 16. The difference in the NCAA tournament is those teams genuinely don't belong on the same floor as the team they're playing with. Every once in a while, something ridiculous happens and they win, but it should never happen. This was not the case. The Knicks were a team that won 50 games this regular season. They're a good NBA team. They're playing a better team. The Celtics are the better team, and they still may win the series. But the Knicks have taken both of these two games, and I think, Monica, I get a sense that you have felt all along, and I'll give you the chance to start it, that not enough credit has been given to them in the conversation.
I do feel that way, Greeny, and particularly when you look at what's happening in clutch time, right? Jalen Brunson alone has 14 clutch points. The Celtics as a team have 12. And so there is a comfort. Yesterday going into the game, I really wondered about what clutch looked like. Now, the Celtics have played 36 clutch games. They are 24-11 in that time frame. The Knicks actually during the season played 31, but as we saw earlier today, have had 6 in the postseason. It's hard to explain, but coming into the postseason, the Knicks had more room to grow. During the regular season, they only had, I believe it was 6 games that they had their entire roster available top to bottom in terms of having, go down the line, Bridges, Robinson, Brunson, right? So you really didn't have a chance to see the promise at all, except in that last game versus Boston that went into overtime. And so for me, they've just grown and gotten better. And like Josh Hart said, they got the most clutch player in the game and the other team doesn't. That's real.
Yeah, but they also, you have to credit the coaching staff, starting with Tom Thibodeau, has been preparing this team for this moment from day one. All he's talked about is game to game to game and getting incrementally better throughout a season. While the Knicks were going through the early growing pains, adding new players, changing up the whole roster. There were times it looked great. There were times you really worried about where it was headed. And he kept saying steady as she goes. And that locker room never changed either.
The other thing I will add too, and I know sometimes he gets, people hear it as coach speak, but it's true. And it's been true in the postseason. The game dictates and tells you what you need to do. They are defending the Celtics differently schematically than what we saw during the regular season. And it is making a difference.
Let me get Windy in here. Windman, how about it? There's been a lot of talk, and understandably so. The Celtics are the defending champs. They have all the big superstars. There's been a lot of talk about what they haven't done. How about what the Knicks have done?
So it's a 16-point game early in the fourth quarter. Tom Thibodeau makes a decision to take Jalen Brunson and Karl Towns out, their two best offensive players, and they're running offense through Mikal Bridges, who at that point is 0 of 9. This is why the Celtics are having a difficult time getting their hands around this. That's what they want. They can defend Bridges. They want Bridges taking those shots, and then he makes 4 or 5 in a row. That is what is so unusual about this. they feel like they've done a decent job on Brunson. Brunson hasn't had multiple 40-point games. If the Knicks shot 65% on threes or Brunson had an all-time classic game and you lose, okay. What they can't understand is how the Knicks are even getting it to crunch time. And that's what I was taken aback by. I'm looking at the clock. There's 5 minutes left. All of a sudden, the Knicks tick the lead down to 5. And I'm like, these son of a guns have done it again. They've gotten it to crunch time. I don't know how they did it. So I'm just having difficulty explaining this. And I think the Celtics are too. But I would have thought it wouldn't have lasted this long. 5 straight 3-point road wins or less. I've never seen anything like it.
Go ahead, Perk.
Oh, I'll tell you how it's happening.
Come on, Perk.
Number one, Greeny, I don't know the people around who had the tone that said, like, this wasn't, this was going to be a night and day type series. I had this series going 7 before it started, okay? That's number one.
You did.
Number
Yes.
2, Wendy, Tom Thibodeau, my Mbutu brother who I won the championship, is coaching his ass off right now. That's how they win it. The coaching and the trust. When Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns go to the bench, I see the pace pick up. I'm watching Mikal Bridges and Deuce McBride. They getting out in the open floor. They getting wide open threes before the Celtics are able to get their defense set. I'm watching Tom Thibodeau say, okay, Joe Mazzulla, you want to go to a Hacker Mitchell? I'm still going to leave him out there on the floor with Karl Anthony Towns. And I'm gonna outcoach you because I'm gonna allow you to keep hacking Mitchell until we get into the bonus early in the fourth quarter, and then I'm gonna sub him out. He's outcoaching him right now. And then here's another thing. A 20-point lead is not safe in today's game. It's all the credit to the Knicks. And one guy I got to give a lot of props to, Josh Hart, the Swiss Army knife. He will cut you everywhere but loose. Does every single thing that doesn't show up in the stat sheet. The cutting off the basketball, the offensive rebounds. And can we show some love to the big cat? Where we at, 21 and 17? Only 1 3-point shot attempt last night. A monster in the paint. The Knicks are doing what they're supposed to do. They're getting dirty and getting it in the trenches while the Celtics are looking soft and looking cute. That's it. That's what it is.
Perk, listen, Josh Hart last night goes 3 of 6 from the 3-point line. Derek White, 3-point shooter, shot 265 threes this year for the Celtics, 3 of 11. And so to Wendy's point in terms of why you're confused, I get it. Because the Knicks are doing everything that you would scout and want them to do, except it's backfiring on the Celtics. But that is one of the things, Greeny, that you just can't quantify statistically, the way that this group is playing together and the confidence they have.
There is another thing that is going on here that I think is, it comes through the television. And so Monica and Wendy, you guys being in the building, I'm sure you feel it. When there were reasons why Phil Jackson, when he was coaching the Bulls, used to always say he greatly preferred playing on the road. And I think you're feeling it, the energy in the building. When the game started yesterday, every 3 the Celtics missed, you could hear the crowd groaning. And then in the fourth quarter, you could feel through the again, I'm sitting in my house. I can feel it on the television window. You're in the building. The Celtic fans can feel it happening again, and that energy has to trickle down on some level to the players one way or another.
When it got to be a 20-point lead, all of these fans are aware that all of these top seeds are blowing 20-point leads. The jokes, you could hear them in the stands. You could hear them on press row. Oh my gosh, that the higher seeds got a 20-point lead at home. It's curtains. You just give the game to the Knicks. But it was nervous laughter. And again, as they were getting walked down, I felt the Celtics got tighter. Typically, the home team thrives having a lead. Typically, the team that falls way down on the road sort of fades. Nothing conventionally is happening in this series.
14 minutes, or the lead was 14. I think it was about 4 minutes to go in the third quarter. My terrific radio partner, Tyler Murray, he says it on our call. You can feel the anxiousness in this building. And it unfolded in exactly that. And I think to answer the question on how they're coming back, when they're closing the gap on these runs, Greeny, there's just a relentlessness that either you got or you don't. Josh Hart ripping rebounds, going coast to coast, like Mikal Bridges finding his way in the middle range.
They look like a team that had more energy, and that's funny because they're the team that played all these minutes, and everybody said it's going to wear them down. They look like they built themselves up for this point of the season, and the Boston Celtics looked like they had tired legs.
Yes, and perhaps that is the reason for what we'll finish this part of the conversation by saying. The reality is the Celtics are missing makeable shots in the fourth quarter. They just are. Whether that's because they're tight, whether that's because they're tired, it doesn't make any difference what the reason is. It's happening, and so the Knicks have dominated those 2 quarters and taken a 2-0 lead home. It was Jokic and the Nuggets. It was SGA and the Thunder. Mostly it was SGA and the Thunder. It's already a 12-point game early, and this is SGA making it a 14-point game later in the first. Alan, I mean, SGA just having his way.
He was on a mission. They were embarrassed about how game 1 ended. What I love about Oklahoma City, and when calling games there, everyone wears the T-shirt that they give out. You see this?
Yes.
Everyone wears the shirt.
Yeah,
Where else do they do that?
In the second quarter, the Nuggets were wearing the shirt. It was 40 to 19. At 40 to 19 after 1 quarter, and then now we're going the other way, and this is Case and Wallace coast to coast. It's 64 to 35. We're still in the second quarter.
Golly.
This is another jam. Next Thunder possession. Lou Dort, no. Wiggins, yes. It's 68 to 41. Have I mentioned we're still in the first half?
Golly.
76?
Jokic on the turnover. Jalen Williams. The Thunder score 87 points in the first half and go on to win it 149-106. The Thunder dropping an incredible 87 in that half, which ties an NBA playoff record for most points in any half. SGA was plus 51.
Golly.
That's the highest by any player in a playoff game in the last 25 years. So that game did not require a lot of expert analysis. Let's dive into this. Steph Curry will miss at least 1 week after he was diagnosed with a grade 1 left hamstring strain. Steph suffering the injury in the second quarter of game 1. Warriors wound up winning that game without him. So we bring in Windy, who's not a doctor, but he'll play one on TV. You were explaining why, all things considered, in your opinion, Windy, this thing shapes up about as well as it could, considering it's the last thing in the world the Warriors need. Go.
Yes, let's keep an eye on the fact that this is a very unfortunate event to your superstar player. After that, what the Warriors needed has happened. Number 1, let's not forget, they won the game. They're up 1-0 in this series. Number 2, this was diagnosed yesterday by the MRI as a grade 1 sprain. If it was grade 2, Curry's season would likely be over. Grade 1 at least brings the possibility, historically, as you look at all the hamstring injuries, you see guys sometimes can return in 1 to 2 weeks. In this series, they do have a break between games 5 and 6. Hat tip to the Valkyries. The WNBA expansion team needs Chase Center next weekend, so it pushes game 6 back a little bit so that there's this gap in there. So I have no idea how Steph Curry's hamstring is going to feel next Friday, but I do know that there is a pathway for the Warriors, especially if Buddy Hield can stay hot, and that's a huge if. He's playing the role of Steph Curry. He's the understudy stepping in on Broadway here. He has 14 threes the last 2 games. There is a pathway. I don't know if they're going to take it, but there was a little bit of good news yesterday.
Big Perk, the question is as simple as it can be. Can the Golden State Warriors beat Minnesota if they don't have Steph Curry back, let's say until game 6 at the soonest?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And because they have playoff Jimmy, right? And you know, a lot of people was asking and saying, be more aggressive offensively. Jimmy in game 1 played a perfect game to me. Did everything across the board. I love it when he's in that point forward position, and he's going to rise to the occasion and elevate his game. I don't have them picked to win this series. I didn't even before Steph got injured. But I will say this, the way that they're defending right now and locked in defensively, led by Draymond Green, the anchor, this team is still dangerous. And so when you have a closer like Jimmy Butler and you could spare some time and buy some time, hell yeah, they could still win this series. All they really got to do, in my opinion, is get one of these next 3 games to even the series up, and then let's see what it looks like in game 5 to bring Steph back. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, Perk's right when it comes to the defense. That's going to have to be the focus now, right? And that's what Steve Kerr said, is we've had one of the best defenses in the league the second half of the season. Yeah. They have to lean on that because they can't lean on the offense anymore. But this is now going to be a difficult task. I like that Wendy's trying to paint an optimistic picture about getting to game 6. Game 6. I understand something. When was the last time a player had a hamstring injury in the playoffs, and a week later it's like, whatever happened to that hamstring injury?
Yeah, it can linger.
Those are things that don't just go away, especially for a player of Curry's age and the miles that are on him. Jaden McDaniels talked about how, okay, Buddy Hield is not going to be one of the main options. Going to cover him like Steph Curry. He's going to learn what it's like to be the leading role guy.
Yeah.
He's going to learn what it's like to be now the one that all the pressure is on, to turn the water off, and all the pressure now goes on Jimmy to carry the team like he did a couple of years ago at Miami. Does he have that in him for a whole series? It'd be hard to believe that he does.
That's why I keep looking at that break that Windy is talking about. Can you win one game to force a game 6? If they'd lost game 1 at this point, I would say they're done.
I'll say this:
if they can win one,
if they win one,
3,
it's on Minnesota that lost it. I will look at it that way. Chris Finch already getting on Anthony Edwards about his performance in game 1. I can't imagine they're going to have another bad game.
Monica.
So I don't know if any of us signed up for this, but did you potentially think Warriors-Wolves rock fight? Because as much as we're talking about the Warriors defense excelling with the addition of Jimmy Butler, the Wolves are ranked 6th during the course of a regular season in terms of them being a defensive unit. So this thing could get clunky, kind of ugly, and I think, interestingly enough, I think that the Wolves have to be more aggressive on defense because there's so much, I mean, not so much, there is more question to me about the supporting cast around Jimmy Butler without Stephen Curry than I would have about the Wolves in terms of what they do.
I would also watch the Warriors trying to turn this, you said rock fight, trying to turn this into such, about the Gobert thing with Draymond Green. I think that might be a way that they go into this series and they try to turn it into something where they can get under the skin of the Wolves. I don't know how you just play straight up against them and think you're going to win.
Bottom line, just to sort of reiterate the very first thing that Windy said, this just can't be the way it ends, right? I mean, Steph Curry having this magical run, he got Jimmy Butler. I don't care who you're rooting for. You could be the biggest Timberwolves fan in the world. You don't want this to come to an end because Steph, this all-time great, didn't get to play, and we never get to see if they would have won it otherwise. Meanwhile, we've got our Game 3 doubleheader coming tomorrow night. We'll have Cavs and Pacers, 7:30 Eastern. Then we'll have Thunder Nuggets. Countdown will tip off our night at 7 o'clock Eastern time. So in the midst of...
I'm on fire. It's 88 over here.